Whatever you do at the Derby, don't turn Mambo. You might have heard of this franchise called Umamusume Pretty Derby. It's a very niche genre with no wider connections to our world. For those not in the know, Umamusume Pretty Derby is a Japanese multimedia franchise created by Games. The franchise centers on anthropomorphized racehorses known as Umamusume, or horse girls, who compete in races inspired by real-life racetracks managed by the Japanese Racing Association. Other examples of anthropomorphic characters include Shadow the Hedgehog, Puss, Crash Bandicoot, Goofy from the gritty family drama A Goofy Movie, Tony the Tiger, and Luna. Most of the Umamusume characters are named and themed after actual racehorses, reflecting their namesakes' personalities, racing records, and relationships with other racehorses. Initially announced in 2016 as a mobile game, the franchise soon expanded to include multiple anime series, manga, and live concerts, and as of 2025, it had a global release allowing people from all walks of life to engage with the icon that is Goldship. Now, everyone has their favorite Uma, be it Hishi for her fiery spirit, Pearl for her maturity, Haru because she's our daughter and must be protected at all costs, Maisho for her personality, or Matakenhauser. Christ, that's a mouthful. Because Mambo.
Mambo, Mambo, Omatsuri, Mambo.
Each one has their own draw to their respective fans, all except for one. One who doesn't even appear on the Uma roster on the official website. An Uma who's seen by us, but not by the rest of her peers. An Uma whose story was nearly forgotten. An Uma who is now nothing more than a ghost. Why is that? How did this come to pass? And why is she always staring at us? That's what I aim to find out in this video. So join me as I put on my detective cap in this search for the Uma who doesn't exist.
Aston Machan です。よろしくね。
Umamusume Pretty Derby is set in a fictional universe similar to our real modern world, but the main difference is that it features the titular Umamusume, female kemonomimi, which are anthropomorphic characters, such as the infamous catgirls, with the ears, tails, and capabilities of horses who live amongst humans and replace actual horses in this franchise setting. Many Umamusume are inspired by real-life thoroughbred racehorses of the past and present, who seek future and fortune as both racers and idols, by competing in organized races akin to middle-distance and long-distance track events. As far as I can tell, there is no official timeline in the world of Umamusume, yet there are signs that these horses have been here since the beginning. In the anime, there are depictions of an Uma Statue of Liberty and an Umified Mount Rushmore. This would indirectly confirm the existence of the United States of Umerica. And so down the rabbit hole we go, because this implies that there is an Umeric civil war, which in turn implies that the Umatallantic slave trade happened at some point, which in turn implies that the European powers did their whole thing, still with their conquest of the New World. Did Hernan Cortez still bring about the fall of the Aztecs? Or does the existence of an Uma Aztec make things much more difficult for him, considering that in our world, horses were not present on the American continent before European colonization? So many fun and silly, if sometimes terrifying, ideas to entertain with this logic. Did Hulegu Khan raise Baghdad with an army of Uma Keshig? Did Caesar's legion get mauled by Boudicca's army of Uma Celtic warriors? Will the Uma royalty and nobility have more agency during the Middle Ages instead of being treated as mere bargaining chips in court politics, as it was in our world? Allegedly, the Irish royalty were not absorbed into the British Empire in the Umaverse. Would this historical change then cause Britain to lose the war against Napoleon Bonaparte in the eventual Napoleonic War? And the Napoleonic War probably happened because we know that the French Revolution did happen by inferring from the existence of the Uma Statue of Liberty. Is this why the fixation of the Francophone culture in the Umaverse exists, due to Britain losing the Napoleonic War? What would have happened in the Great War then? Would World War I still have even happened if Franz Ferdinand had an Uma guard with him at Sarajevo on June 28, 1914? Also, Japan as a whole existing, the implications of this are that the Takeda clan specialized in fielding an army of Umas, which is fucking hilarious to think about. That being said, the existence of Umas entirely changes the geopolitics of nations throughout history, and they would be seen as a strategic asset. Any nation who could field the most Umas is bound to have a massive advantage, at least up until the industrial era. Keep in mind though, Umas can't eat grass unlike our horses, so you can't have them eat grass on campaigns. You'd need to provide them the same food as your human soldiers for the Umas to keep them sustained. Even then, the superhuman capabilities of an Uma would still serve them well in society. Umas basically combine both advantages of cavalry and infantry into one being. They would be able to march for longer and faster than any human ever could. They would also be able to hold ground like an infantry formation. Essentially, in the pre-industrial era, they would be the perfect super soldier. To further entertain this idea, I'm going to think of a few traits that Cygames doesn't tell us to nerf the Uma's ability in combat, because at this rate there is no reason for any political policy in the pre-industrial era not to mass conscript Umas for war. By making them all female, Cygames unknowingly created a world where a society based around a matriarchal system would be more beneficial than a patriarchal one. Keep in mind that this would mean that the Battle of Teutoburg Forest was in this universe. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest, also called the Various Disaster, or Variant Disaster by Roman historians, was a major battle fought between an alliance of Germanic peoples and the Roman Empire between 8 and 11 September 9 AD, possibly near modern Calcarees. Fighting began with an ambush by the Germanic alliance on 3 Roman legions being led by Publius Quinctilius Varus and their auxiliaries. So imagine you're marching through a foggy Teutoburg forest and Goldship just casually drop kicks you from a nearby bush. The Umas are all-terrain super soldiers. The only thing I can think of to nerf them is to have their calorie intake be that much greater than a regular human. The anime seems to like playing that as a joke, but that would really put the logistical capabilities of an Uma fielding army into question. One interesting implication is how the steppe people would influence the course of history in this world. Like, will there be a constant struggle between nomadic and settled groups, or how did settled societies deal with threats from nomadic people? I can imagine nomadic Umas scaling the Great Wall with some ladders, raid a shitload of villages, and then climb back out. Or whoever got the Numidian on their side in the Roman Civil War is 90% winning that battle. In my humble opinion, mobile warfare between Rome and Persia would be at its peak in this timeline. 2 superpowers that could field and maintain armies of Umas, constantly trying to outmaneuver the other on flat plains and deserts. Circling back to the actual series itself, it centers on the Umamusume who attend the elite Tracing Academy in Tokyo, and train to compete in the Twinkle series of professional races organized by the Umamusume Racing Association, or URA for short. The main stories across the series are focused on specific Umamusume and loosely based on the racing careers of the racehorses they are based on. While the main anime series depicts the journeys of various Umamusume who are affiliated with Team Spica, a racing team at Tracing Academy, and the manga Cinderella Grey and its anime adaptation depict the races between Ugari Cap, who transfers from the regional racing scene to the Twinkle series, and rivals of the previous and next generation that include Tamamo Cross, Inari 1, and Super Creek. The story is based on Ogaru Cap's races from 1987 to 1990. The video game adaptation, the one I personally am most familiar with, is split into 2 parts. Part 1 of the main story focuses on the efforts of Team Sirius as it flourishes following the retirement of the team's star racer and previous trainer. The story is based on the races run by Meijiro McQueen, Rice Shower, Winning Ticket, and Narita Bryan in the 1990s, while additionally covering Silent Suzuka and Special Weeks races in the late 1990s. Part 2 focuses more on the efforts of Team Macelia and the journeys of Tira Umamusume, who are characters based on race mares. The story is based on the races run by race mares Rhinecraft, Cesario, and Fushichi Pandora in the mid-2000s. The game itself is a sports simulation game with a gacha system to allow players to expand their roster. Other gacha games you might be familiar with are Destiny Rising, though that one is now ditching the gacha mechanics, so now it's just better than Destiny 2, Genshin Impact, Mario Kart Tour, Raid Shadow Legends, and, of course, Zenless Zone Zero. As mentioned before, all the characters in Umamusume are based on real-life horses. Take Goldship, for example. Her personality isn't just like that because they wanted a quirky horse. That's just how her horse was in real life. The real Gold Ship was insanely unpredictable, described as a divine punishment on people betting on his races, due to his tendency to either win by a landslide or lose miserably, making funny expressions, and even trying to kick his trainer on multiple occasions. His most notable loss was at the 2015 Takarazuka Kinen race, where he grew irritable and reared up at another horse in the starting gate, causing him to start 5 seconds later than the rest of the pack. This ended up costing 12 billion yen in losses from betting, and he retired to live at the Big Red Farm in Hokkaido. You can see this reflected when Gold Ship just straight up drop kicks her trainer upon winning a G1 race. So why am I saying all of this? It's because of one horse in particular, Aston Machan. Aston Machan is an Umamusume who carries a Machan doll and will come close to anyone who has a camera. Fun little fact, her voice actor Honoka Inoue is the daughter of Kikuko Inoue, Sasume and Shinzawa's voice actor. Her hobby is recording voice memos, especially before a race, and her dream is to become a mascot that travels the world. Behind her fluffy and plush words, there seems to be a wish of hers, a wish that will become all the more clear in due time. In Umamusume, there are stables, which are essentially factions, either as a narrative faction or a group of people that align with each other but are still more independent. In horse racing lore, there usually end up being pocket rivalries that develop organically. For example, Oguri Cap, Super Creek, and Inari 1 formed what's known as the Heisei Sankeo, or Heisei's 3 Strong. Biwa Heihide, Narita Teisen, and Winning Ticket formed what was called the BNW, after each one of their initials. Miyano Top Gun, Marvelous Sunday, and Sakuri Laurel formed their own competitive trio also, as did Narita Top Road, TM, Opera O, and Admir Vega, as seen in the anime. There are also stables that act more as an umbrella term for specific generations, like the so-called Golden Generation of Special Week, Grass Wonder, El Condor Pasa, King Halo, and Saiyan Sky. The real Aston Machan's name is a combination of Aston Martin and Machan, Dr. Mayumi Tosa's Machan's owner's college nickname. That is a mouthful. Aston Machan was foaled on Sade Farm on March 5, 2004. She was sired by Admire Kozane, who was sired by Kozane, an American-bred racehorse who won the Breeders' Cup Mile in 1985 and was an outstanding sire. Her dam, Rustling Kopse, was an American-bred racehorse sired by Woodman. She later died at the age of 4 due to acute heart failure per acute colitis of an unknown origin that is still poorly understood. Because of this, her career was cut short. Machan had a bumpy start with a second place at her debut, but immediately stood back up, earning first place after first place. This made her the most popular racehorse of the Hanshin Juvenile Fillies, one of the earliest G1 races you can apply for in-game. The problem was that in that race, there was another mare by the name of Vodka that stole first place away from Machan. In fact, regular Vodka's unique skill effect in-game, if it's the last 200 meters, you're in front and there's competition, raise your speed, is actually the exact iconic way that Vodka won against Machan in this race. Machan won her next race in the Phillies Review, the step right before the Uka Show. She then headed into the Uka Show with high expectations. In fact, she was the second most popular pick after Vodka. The problem was that Vodka had won her last race against another mare called Dewa Scarlet, and Scarlet went on her revenge tour, winning the Uka Show against Vodka and igniting a rivalry that would define them until they retired. Machan, however, unfortunately ended up in 7th place, then 6th place in the Kitayukushu Kinen, then, to everyone's surprise, 1st in the Sprinter Stakes, but then came 14th in the Swan Stakes, and then 10th place in the Silk Road Stakes, and then 10th place in the Silk Road Stakes. Later, she sadly got colitis and died of heart failure before trying the Takatusa no Meya Kinen. In various Umamusume media, including the first anniversary animation, the 1.5 anniversary story, season 3 of the Pretty Derby anime, and her career mode in the mobile game itself, Aston Machan frequently looks directly at the camera, as if she was looking through the fourth wall at the viewer or player. She's the only Umamusume with an apparent awareness of the fourth wall, which is exactly what she does in the very first scene of her training campaign, which is a flashback. Machan used to play near the hospital's squares and gardens, according to her introduction. Machan's mom is a doctor, which is a neat nod to the real Machan's owner also being a doctor. Machan used to talk a lot with many elderly patients who entertained her as much as she entertained them. And then Machan went again, having grown up. And the same patients now had signs of dementia, or Alzheimer's, or senility, or similar conditions and were slowly forgetting their memories with Machan until they forgot her altogether. But they saw a mascot character plushie, and even in this advanced stage, the mascot character seemed to trigger memories. Not names, not faces, but memories and the feelings attached to them. This was the moment when Machan realized that if she became a mascot, people might not forget her. During all this, Machan paints an analogy about life that becomes a recurrent theme throughout her story. You're born in an estuary, you go downstream, and then you end at the sea. This was always painted to her as a matter of fact and not as scary by the hospital staff. But this experience with the patients made her realize that when you end at the sea, you might go too deep or too far, and then nobody will see you. They might even forget you. One day, her trainer had a dream about waving goodbye to someone in a boat, except they want to help but can't reach them, only to wake up trying to recall a girl they knew, a girl who's really important to them. Then they see one of the many Machan plushies, the first one in fact, and her name comes back to them. They try to log into the blog only to be denied access. They call Machan only for the calls to go unanswered. They start asking people in the streets if they've seen the girl that looks like the plushie, and nobody seems to know her. Then, finally, late at night, the trainer finds Machan on the beach, facing the sea, where she speaks as if she's going to just walk into it, where she begs the trainer just to let go. The trainer remembers her. That's enough. So long as one person remembers Machan, then that's enough. Which is depressing as fuck saying that out loud. She promised her fans that she'd be at the sprinter stakes, so why is she stopping? Her trainer insists, and Machan's wish to give up is challenged until she relents that that's not what she really wants. As if some spell was broken, Machan turns her back to the sea and dawn breaks. She's changed her mind. She then comments about how, even if her boat leaks, she will keep going. At the end of the campaign, despite having official merchandise, the trainer still had Machan's handmade plushie and decided to keep it as a treasure. Then Machan tells them that in the distant future, when the trainer is old, even if she's buried below a sea of other memories, even if the trainer forgets her, maybe that plushie will be the string that's still connected to the memories of a girl who brings good memories and happiness, even if you can't remember her face. The absolute balls to punch you in the stomach with something as heavy as a girl that grew up with elders that probably had Alzheimer's or dementia is insane. Machan's analogies for depression feel like the sort of thing someone who went through depression might have, rather than the more cartoony sort of depression media depicts. And as someone who has his own personal demons regarding depression, yeah, it's pretty spot on. That fear of being forgotten even after all the pain you endured is not something one easily navigates. It's inspiring how Machan can clearly read a person and deeply care about them in her own detached way. She even has her own rule to always smile when saying goodbye to someone. When Umamusume inevitably shuts down, however far into the future that is, for whatever reason it may be, all the memories of all the girls you read about or have interacted with will remain, and it'll live on in the collective hearts of the players and fans alike for decades to come. I refer back to Machan's quote on her wiki page. I'm Machan, Aston Machan. One day I'll become the world's mascot. Please keep your eyes right on me. I originally went into researching this topic expecting only to talk about the silly horse girls and how quirky they each were. But looking deeper, I see so much pain, so much heartbreak, and despite it all, an overarching sense of unity. Machan isn't the only Uma to have tragic origins. Haru Urara is another notable example. In real life, Haru had to race in at least 20 competitions a year to avoid disappearing from the racetrack. You can guess as to what disappearing means in this context. This, plus the amount of abuse she went through from her former owner, only further adds to her tragic existence. While most Umamusume characters are based on champions, and Haru is as well, I'd argue she also represents something different. The spirit of never giving up. The real mare ran 113 races and never won a single one, yet became beloved by fans for her determination. The game honors this by giving her character poor base stats, making her victories feel even more special when players manage to help her succeed. Maybe that's why we all refer to her as our daughter. We share in that sense of pride a parent feels when their child achieves something remarkable. Machan, to me, represents the inevitability of death. How, no matter your success in life, we all pass on. But rather than allowing that existentialism to consume you, you can use it to make your mark on the world. Aston Machan is still here with us, nearly 2 decades after his passing, albeit in a different form, with a different look, but it's still him. Despite everything, it's still him. And that goes for all the Umas, and for all of you. No matter what you did with your life, no matter how exciting or dull, you are still you. And when all seems lost, will you go on? Will you just follow? Will you fight to the bitter end? We all have just one shot at life. So, we better make it count.